Hello everyone, Bella Malloy here and welcome back to an episode in our Cycle Shorts midweek mini-series. This is where I feature people sharing what it was like for one day of their trip. Before we jump into today's episode, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you've been enjoying the show, please take a moment to give it a rating and leave a review. It really helps me reach more people and keep bringing you the content that you love each and every week. So just scroll down in your podcast player app, tap 5 stars and share your thoughts. Thanks so much for your support. Now, in this episode, I'm actually featuring previous guest Peter Gostelow. Peter's taken so many incredible adventures for almost 2 decades. So you could imagine how it must be for him to just pick one day of his trips to share. But he's going to take us deep into Saudi Arabia and tell us all about one day of his most recent journey, which he took at the end of 2023. Take it away, Peter.
Hi, I'm Pete Gostelow. This is a short one-day story from my time in Saudi. So I was leaving the city of Tais, and I've been staying in this fancy villa, staying with an ex-colleague of mine because I used to live in Saudi Arabia. So I had all the luxury comforts for 2 or 3 nights. And then I rode back off into the desert. And as per usual, I had no idea where I was going to sleep that night. Got into the afternoon and some guy overtook me in a pickup and stopped to ask, where I was going. And this happened pretty much every day in Saudi. And he invited me to what I thought was his house. So I started following him down this dirt track. And it just happened to be basically his camel farm at the bottom of a valley. And so we got there and he started making tea, he lit a fire. And then he said he was going to get his camels. So he disappeared for about 30 minutes. And then I could hear the sound of some animals coming. And I looked up and there were maybe 100 camels, which were coming down this valley to basically the camp where he had water. So he was basically giving his camels a drink. And then I was wondering where his house was. And I realized there was no house there. And he just basically pointed at this kind of cast iron bed, which was under a tree. And then I was like, well, yeah, that's fine. Because I was thinking I was going to camp, but I didn't need to. So I just put my mat out on this kind of cast iron bed. And then he went off to basically milk one of the camels. And he brought warm, fresh camel's milk for me to drink, which has a distinctive taste. It's okay. It's quite sweet, actually. Doesn't taste like cow's milk. So drank that. And I just remember sitting there drinking tea under the stars with the fire thinking, wow, this is such a contrast from 24 hours ago when I've been in a Western apartment. And I think that day kind of sums up the beauty of bike travel, that you can just go from one world to the next so quickly, and it can be really unpredictable. And it's one of the things that keeps me going back on the road, really. So that's my one day.
Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing one day of your trip there. I really loved that summary you gave right at the end, how just that unpredictability of bike travel, not knowing what's going to happen from one day to the next, where you will be pitching your camp, where you'll be laying your head down to rest. You certainly had yourself a very unique experience. I'm sure not too many people in the world can say that they were hosted on a camel farm deep in Saudi Arabia. Now, listeners, as I mentioned at the start of the show, Peter is actually a previous guest, and I'm super excited to say that I have another full-length feature episode with Peter to come, and I'm going to go deep into some more stories from this latest adventure of his. On this journey, Peter explored the Jordan Bike Trail, spent 60 days in Saudi Arabia, and then headed deep into northern Kenya and Tanzania. I can tell you now the incredible stories that are to come in this episode will give you some inspiration and some further insights into what it's been like for Peter as a long-time bike traveller. So stay tuned for that one in the weeks to come. Now, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you, my awesome, incredible super fans who have continued to be supporting the show. This week, I'd love to thank awesome superfan Pam Price, who says, I definitely owe you more than a few coffees to pay back the hours of enjoyment and motivation that comes from your show. Love it. Keep it coming. Thank you so much, Pam. You are an awesome super fan, and I love that I and my guests are keeping you company each and every week as you tune in. Thanks for supporting the show. And I also would like to thank someone. Yes, yet another person who has donated anonymously, and they say, I'm so overdue buying you a cuppa or 10 for all the inspiration your questions and discussions with guests bring me as I drive to work and wish I was on my bike. It's super lovely to hear your voice too. Well, thank you, someone. I am super chuffed to be able to keep you company on those work commutes, and I really hope that you're taking inspiration from each of my guest stories to plot out your own adventures to come. Keep me posted on what they might be, and who knows, maybe you will be featured as a guest one day yourself. Thanks again for supporting the show. Now, listeners, if you are a super fan of Seek Travel Ride and you want to show some love and appreciation for the episodes which I am bringing you each and every week, you too can buy me some virtual coffees. Just hit the link in the show notes, keep me caffeinated, and let me know what you love about the show. Until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.